Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Viewers of Gunjur Online TV, welcome to another edition of Salaji Turning Point for Combo. Today we are discussing education. Unfortunately, my panelists, the rest of the panelists are yet to be here. I think they are running late, but as usual, I will continue with the presentation to give you the update about COVID across the world and also West Africa and Gambia before the rest of the panelists join in. COVID touched every facet of our life, and education is no different. We've seen universities, high schools, and even primary schools have been conducting lectures or classes over the internet through TV, but in a resources limited settings like us, these have some serious implications because not only the electricity is erratic, but it's also very expensive. And also data to access internet is also very, very expensive, and also is not up to the normal speed. But we'll come to that as I wait on my other panelists to join me. I will give you the updates on COVID-19. As you are all aware, this virus initially emerged in Wuhan province in China in December 2019, and that's why it's called COVID-19. I'm not sure if Donald Trump is watching this, but he's not sure why it's called COVID-19, because it's a coronavirus infectious disease which was discovered or which emerged in 2019. That's why the 19. Since its emergence 8-9 months ago, 23,703 people, 703,901 people are infected with the virus, and out of that, 814,304 dead. Number of people recovered stands at 16,142,516. And if you've been following news in the Western media, U.S. Today announced they will be using convalescent plasma to treat COVID-19 patients. I've been mentioning this, the importance of this recovered population. They will help us to understand the pathology of the disease, and also in terms of, Prof, can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? It looks like he's mute. Hello? Sorry about that. Sometimes this happens. Some reason I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Maybe you have to go out and come back in again. Okay, so while he sort that out, I continue the updates. Yeah, every day I highlighted this position, why the recovered population are very, very important, because this will help us understand the pathology of the pathophysiology of COVID-19, how it causes us illness, and how when we recover our immune status, and how important that is, because this recovered population, they're supposed to be resistant in layman term, or in the scientific term, they're supposed to be immune to COVID-19. By that, I mean this recovered population should have in their blood specially programmed protein called immunoglobulins, which can attack the virus and eliminate it. So the convalescence plasma, the US today agreed to use to treat COVID-19. That's what it means, because if you take the blood of these recovered patients and spin it and separate the solid component from the liquid component, the liquid component supposed to have these specially programmed proteins that when you give it to somebody who is suffering from COVID infections, they should go into their blood and also eliminate the virus. Hello, Baboucarr, how are you?
Hey, Ahmed.
Yeah, how are you?
Am I muted? Can you hear me?
Welcome.
Okay, thank you.
No, I can hear you clearly. Can you hear me? Yeah,
Yes, I can hear
normally
you
what we do
clearly.
before the program, yeah, I give update about COVID-19, then we continue. Now you are muted. Now you are
Yes,
muted. Yeah, okay. Can you hear me?
yes, I can. So
Okay.
I,
So, ba- yeah, basically how we do this, our main speaker will talk about a particular topic, but it seems today also we're going to lose our chief presenter due to poor internet connections. In fact, there is a massive problem with the internet in the Gambia from yesterday, and it's going to last for like 10 days. That is rather
oh my,
unfortunate, but you are here, and Prof. Conteh also is here. He's having problem with his audio. He went back and he's going to come back in again. So I'm giving updates about COVID, how it is, and then we continue our discussion. Prof, now can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly. So
I can
I
hear you. Yes,
yes, I can. Baboucarr, can you hear me? Yeah, okay.
yes, I can
So
hear you. Yes.
basically, normally, what we do, we allow our panelists to introduce themselves, then we continue from there. So I'll give the floor to Baboucarr first, because yeah, even though Prof was here before you, but he went back, so you came in. So introduce yourself to Gunyul TV online viewers. Who is Baboucarr Ba?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I guess it's evening even in Gambia right now. It's late here. I'm in South Africa. Yeah, it's
Okay.
yes. So yeah, Baboucarr. I am from Combo, Yuna. I don't know if it's a very small hamlet. It used to be. Now it's not. It's big now. It's almost part of the conurbation that is developing in Combo now. All these towns are all linked together now. Yeah, and
Mhm.
I am based in South Africa. I am a researcher, a senior researcher at the African Institute for Mathematical Sciences. My background is applied and computational mathematics, and I just do research, and we also train MSc students from all over Africa in mathematical sciences. Yes, that's what I do. You need more than that, or
Thank you
it's
very
too
much,
short?
Baboucarr. That's impressive. So you went on to become a mathematician. That's nice to hear. Yeah. So today we have people with figures. I'm the only old man here. Prof also is an accountant. Prof, once again, I know the regular viewers. You are no stranger to them, but always we gain new viewers. If you can introduce yourself once again, we'll continue from there.
okay. I am Dr. Lamin E. I am from Parwabanta Combo East. I was born in Piram Berendeng, and I teach accounting and finance here in the U.S. Actually, I just came out of a statistics class. You know that I teach. Not nobody wants to teach, and I just volunteered to do it. And we have been here talking about issues relative to our country, and it shouldn't have any political boundaries. What Gambia is going through, and in fact, if time permits, I will talk about the research findings of projections by the University of Washington's Institute of Health Metrics about the total number of deaths in some of the African countries, including the Gambia. So this has been a very sad occasion because if you look every single day, you see young faces and old faces dying. And it is something that we need to address. And so I do believe that collaborating with each person here, we will come to solutions to our country's problems. So I'm not going to take too long on that. And so let me take it back to you, Mr. Manjang.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof. Conteh. I'm Ahmed Manjang, as usual, you used to me. I'm a microbiologist, medical and molecular microbiologist by training. I'm again a senior researcher at Kim Fahd Medical City and also in the routine, a senior medical technologist. I was born in Gunjur, trained in the UK, and now I work in Saudi Arabia for the past 10 years. Um, I'm hoping to return to the Gambia soon. I'm not sure how feasible that will be. Welcome to another edition of Salaji, Turning Point for Combo. And today we discuss about education. But as things keep unfolding this pandemic season, we might have to concentrate on the issues Prof just alluded to. But before that, I'll give this brief update about COVID-19, then we'll continue. So I was talking about the recovered population. So far, 16,142, 516 people are recovered from COVID-19. So this recovered population is going to be very, very important in our understanding of this disease, how the virus infects us, how it causes, how it makes us sick, and how it kills us. And also when we recover, how our immune system prevail, how long it lasts, to be immune to this. These are all very important. And also importantly, this recovered population, their plasma can be very, very essential in treating people having COVID-19 infections. Because when you recover from a particular illness, your body develop what we call immunity, or in layman term, you become resistant to that particular virus. So why you are resistant is down to specially programmed proteins called immunoglobulins. These immunoglobulins, once you are infected with that particular virus or bacteria again, they will act quicker and with more force to eliminate that virus. So today the U.S. announced um, they will be using the plasma of this recovered population to treat um, the sick patients. Yeah, to treat the sick patient, because those who recovered will have these specially programmed proteins that can go in and eliminate the virus. So if you should take their blood and spin it and separate the liquid components and transfuse that into people experiencing viral infection, they should be cured. So that's what's important. But currently we have 6,747,000 and 45 people actively infected with COVID-19. And out of that 6,685, 331, that is 99% of the active actively infected population are in mild conditions, and the mild condition include asymptomatic patients. These are patients that are infected with the virus, but they are showing no sign of symptoms, but they are capable of infecting others around them. This is what makes COVID very, very nasty, because most infections, before you can be able to transmit to other people, you must be showing signs of symptoms, but that's not COVID. We have also, it has also been established that COVID is symptomatic can go like 2 weeks, before they experience any kind of symptoms. So, and also it's well established that any particular infected individual is capable of infecting 3.58 people. So multiply that by 14 days, that's a lot of people before you show sign of symptom to infect other people. Why I also highlight this position is very important, because in recent days, we have seen Gambia report. If you look at it to the untrained eye, it look impressive. Oh, this number of that, this number of that. But what is not being highlighted are the most important. Like I've seen recently, no trace. That means they're not even doing contact tracing. Because if you say you have 49 positive, how many people, those 49 people come in contact for the past 2 weeks? According to WHO regulation, you're supposed to go back and interview them. Anybody they come in contact in past 14 days, they should be isolated, tested. If they test positive, you isolate them and start treating them. If they test negative, you still have to isolate them and quarantine them and intermittently test them until 2 weeks. If after 2 weeks they continue to test negative, then you let them back in the community. But right now, Gambia is not doing this. This is very, very significant. So whatever we are doing, we are going to go in a circle. And another thing that is even more scary about the Gambia data they are presenting is, you look at the data in the State House, is very, very misleading. Again, to the common man, you will not know, but you look at it, they said like they have 2018, 2,108 active cases, but out of that, only 296 are in government quarantine facility. So what happened to the 1,812? These 1,800, even though they are confirmed positive, they are sent back to their community to self-isolate. And looking at the Gambia setup, how can somebody, any sane person, tell an actively infected COVID patient to go home and self-isolate? It's almost impossible in our family settings. So basically, there is 1,812, people out there who each and every one of them is capable of infecting another 3.58. Maybe our doctor mathematician can help us. 3.58 times 1,812 people are capable of infecting. So you can see the dilemma facing Gambia right now. It's good thing to invite the Senegalese to come and help us. I hope that will change the mindset and will change everything. But it looks like they don't have the resources to do what WHO advised to do if we're going to get rid of this virus. And that is rather unfortunate. So quickly, I will give you the total number of cases of countries around us and the numbers they registered past 24 hours. Ivory Coast numbers for the past 24 hours are not yet in, but so far they recorded 17,471 cases. Senegal, so far 13,013 people got infected. Past 24 hours, they recorded 64. Guinea-Conakry so far recorded 9,013 cases. Past 24 hours, they recorded 46. Mauritania so far 6,905, but they have no new cases past 24. It's not yet in. And Mali also 2,708 cases so far and 3 positive cases. So Gambia past 24 hours, most of the time their data is late for 24 to 48 hours. They don't recorded anything today so far, but so far 2,685. Excuse me, Guinea-Bissau so far 2,149. Their new data is not yet in. Sierra Leone also 1,992 so far. Burkina Faso 1,328 past 24 hours. They recorded 8 new cases. Liberia 1,290 cases and 4 cases so far. So this is the COVID update for the past 24 hours. Now I will welcome Dr. Conteh to introduce this specific topic. It's supposed to be about education. We will touch on to that because this is one thing that COVID really severely negatively impacted on. We've seen the online classes, but if you go to places like Gunjur, Berending, the people don't even have access to regular electricity, much more regular data to follow these classes. So they are seriously disadvantaged. But we went ahead anyway, and now we've seen they are writing their exams as we speak. But Prof shares some chilling data. Somebody called me and said, wow, how did they arrive at this conclusion? This is scary. I said, that these are the facts. This is about science. That's how developed the whole world is now. It's just happened that for us, it seems like we are going back. I'm not sure why, but the whole world is moving, and pandemic. So, Doctor, you want to introduce this particular area before we start?
You're talking about the data from the University of Washington's Institute of Health.
Yes.
Medicine. Is that what you want to talk about? This is very, very depressing because of the fact that what is happening in the report. They even predicted for Gambia from the time the report was made available or the projections were made, that by December 1, 2020, the Gambia was going to have 1,909 deaths. And surprisingly, Senegal Senegal only will have 2,000, maybe 100. And Nigeria, a population of almost 230 million people. According to their projection, Nigeria will only have no more than 2,046 deaths. They also reported, that in Ethiopia will have 26,000 deaths by December 1, 2020. So I want to try, and anyone here, I posted this stuff on Facebook, and the link is right here. So if we can all try to make this available to the Ministry of Health in the Gambia, for us to be able to prepare ourselves, because if you look at our population of 2,300,000 or 400,000 people, and Senegal is about what 16, 18,000 people, and is Senegal only going to experience deaths of maybe 2,300, and for us only 2.5 million, having 1,909,000. Per capita wise, Gambia has a higher rate, will have a higher rate than Senegal and other countries. So this is one thing that we need to find a way. So if anyone goes onto Facebook, I can send this information to you. And actually, it was a Gambian who provided this information to me. And I think it is valuable that we all look at this and try to caution our family members and and other relatives to say that these projections are there and they are for real, and no one should say something to the effect. Of course, you have right to say whatever you want to say, because if we all go back to March of 2020, prediction was made, that the COVID, after leaving Asia, it will find its way in Africa. And look, now we have it. So if these people, and the University of Washington is one of the best research institutions in America, and if they can sit there and make projections that our country, from the time they made the projection that we are going to lose 1,909, I think the Minister of Health should be able to find a way. But again, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, what I am so concerned about in the Gambia, it seems like we don't have social distancing. And even if you see yesterday when they went to bury Ansumana Jammeh, may his soul rest in peace, I was alarmed to see the number of people standing next to each other, and they didn't have any face masks. So what do you expect? So this is one thing that we really need to educate ourselves, because in some universities actually offer a course called health promotion, and sometimes preventive care is more better than cure if you look at it. So this is something that I think we need to do. In my view, looking at the increase in the COVID cases in Brikama, and also looking at the COVID cases in Banjo, is a cause of concern. I couldn't believe, that SL has a higher rate of cases than Bara. And I was just wondering, well, most people who come through Gambia, through Karang and Hamdallah, rarely would they stop over at in SL. Normally they would go all the way to Bara to catch a ferry. And I don't understand for the life of me. And I even called a friend of mine who is from Jufre, and I told him that, do you know your next town near you, Albreda, has about 4 cases, and even Nyomi Lameng has 1, and you look at Biam and so forth. So these are things. But what is confusing me, or what is concerned to me, is that if you look at the coastal area, and in fact, there's a gentleman here, Mr. Banka Manneh, I alluded to this, that I did notice sudden increase in deaths in Brufut. This was even well before this, and I told them I don't understand this. It seems like almost every single week someone is dying in that village, and for the life of me, I don't know. If you look at Tanje, Tujereng, and you look at Kotu, And even Sarakunda, Bakau, look at Bakau's numbers went up, Banjul's numbers went up. So this is something that we should not, but I think that we need to do the opposition. You see, today I wrote something and some people criticize me, and I will say it. Now is not the time to celebrate a political party's founding. That's, come on. People are dying, families are mourning. What we also do collectively is to come together to solve the problem of our country. Because this COVID-19 does not know your age, doesn't know your tribe, doesn't know your sex, whether you male or female. Every single time we go to Facebook, we see all these young people dying. We see all these elderly people. And what really touched me was the imam or the former imam of Conteh who died. And the family actually was appealing to his friends who live in Combos to say, please do not go to funeral. And this is something that I think we all need together. So again, when it comes to the solutions of our country, we shouldn't look at political lines. And Lieutenant Dabo, including all the politicians out there, now is the time for you to leave that yellow alone. Now is the time for you to leave that white collar alone, or blue collar, or red, or green. Let's come together to solve our country's problems. And no one should rejoice that this is happening on the Barrow scale. This is our problem, and the problem is Gambia's problem. If we sit down, try to equate or quantify that we are happy that Barrow is president and this is happening, and that you want to score political points, Gambians, this is not the Gambia I grew up in. Because where I come from, and I remember, I know some of you would attest to me, is that usually when someone dies in your village, some places will go for a whole month without any drum beating. So when Gambians are dying, a gentleman lady wrote that aunt died, father died, mother died, and everybody is in despair. So we all need to come together. Again, the numbers are increasing in the coastal areas. And for you, Mr. Manjang and Dr. Ba and Mr. Manneh, we all need to see what is going on in our country. I was scared to go to class today to teach. I'm telling you, I was afraid. And they say high flex in one of my classes. You know what I did? I flexed out. I said, we are going to meet on Mondays only. I'm going to have my class on Wednesdays and Fridays online, because my life, to me, your life is important. And the students agreed with me. So again, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, as Gambians, I think we owe it to our forefathers. We owe it to our parents. Nobody wants to bury your loved one. And this is really terrible. And for any political party to be commemorating their founding, I think that one is very scary. We should think Gambia first. We should not think about any political party. We should not think about any political leader, because our people today, every day they get up, they cry. Every single time you go out there, people are dying in the Gambia. And this is very frightening. So I'm really upset. So I want to stop here. I want to stop here and give you all the turn the mic to my friend Mr. Manjang, so that you all can talk, because this Gambia of ours is very scary, and we all need to come to the rescue of our country. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm going to you, Baboucarr. I'm going to ask you about these figures, because how do they arrive at these figures? Even though I have a brief idea, but you will have a far better idea. These predictions, like from now to December 1st, this number of Gambians will die. Your microphone is mute, though. You need to unmute it. But before that, I will let Banka in to introduce himself, to our new viewers, even though he don't need any introduction. And Banka, sorry, I ran out of battery yesterday. That's why I unceremoniously drop. I don't run away from the yellow guy. But after I went to my iPad, I decided to listen. So, you will introduce yourself.
It's okay. I thought as much. When you drop out, I was like, I think it demands. I usually with you all in Saudi Arabia. The other thing with me is I don't trust your networks anyway. I always think somehow that the network is gonna drop in some fashion. I don't know why. So I really the technical issues were what I associated with, not Not that you had abroad, you just left.
or the IRGM meeting, because some apps we still have to use the VPN to be able to call, even like with
I know.
WhatsApp.
Trust me. I know. I know. And believe it or
Yeah,
not, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. So, but
yeah,
anyway, but thank you very much,
yeah.
Ahmed, and thank you to Baboucarr also, Baboucarr Ba, for joining us here today, and Dr. Conteh, obviously for always your brilliant take on the issues. You know, I always I consider myself a crazy guy, Ahmed. I'm sure by now you know that. And in that, I always like to hear from unconventional
All
folks.
all Nyanjos are in fact another crazy Nyanjos
And
telling
you
you
are
good
not from Brikama.
money.
You're from
It's
Brufut,
another
not from
Exactly.
Brikama.
Thank you. You know, but Conte is always very unconventional. He comes from an unconventional view. He expresses an unconventional view. He approaches things from an unconventional point of view. And a lot of times, what that tends to do is you find that the person is literally standing alone. And but I like it that way because somebody has to be out there raising the issues that nobody wants to touch or don't even consider to be a mainstream in that regard. Those folks can sound crazy, but a lot of times all the best of the best ideas and the world changers we are all considered crazy people. You can imagine when the Wright brothers, I'm sure, sat down there one time in a bar and told everybody, we're going to make a metal that's going to fly. Everybody was looking at them saying, these guys must have had something too much to drink today. But in the end, we had flight. People are flying in aeroplanes today, and it seems so easy, isn't it? But again, so that's why one thing I like about Conteh in that when he talks, he's speaking from a totally unconventional point of view, and that always enriches this program. My son Dave is also like that. He's another crazy guy who always likes to look at the numbers and dig deeper into the numbers and express things through numbers, because numbers, as they say, don't lie. So I do find the conversation here regarding Combo and the numbers and the issues and Gambia in general sometimes very, very fascinating because it always comes from a very unconventional view. And Hamid, yourself, obviously, I'm not even going to go there because your viewers, I'm sure by now, they know you. They know that you are another crazy dude who is looking like a lone man himself, a one-man army. I mean, you know, yesterday somebody said to me, he said, man, that Manjang, man, I like him. I don't know why. He said, can you imagine this guy? He's out there fighting. I mean, I usually see him just by himself running around and screaming about issues and nobody. I said, well, he's crazy. He's crazy. You know, but anyway, so I like that. And I hope that Baboucarr, you are like that too, that you are crazy. Because we do another program for the people by the people program, which also is a bunch of crazy guys. Musa is crazy, Coach is crazy. So I love crazy people, and because a lot of times ideas that may not be how would I call it popular, but you know, unpopular ideas are the ones that have made you change the world. If we are all like they have the hard mentality, we're all following in the same direction. I don't know about that. I mean, I think that doesn't provide the ingredients that are needed for the kind of change that we want. So, Baboucarr, thank you very much. We appreciate you joining us today. I haven't heard you speak, but I hope you are crazy too, and that you are going to express crazy ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Banka, for that energetic introduction. Malik, thank you very much. Yeah, Baboucarr, you are muted. Your microphone is mute. I'm not sure if you.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
Okay. Yeah.
You
So
can hear me now.
the question is, Prof. Conteh come with some figures from University of Washington. By 1st of December, this number of Gambians will die. You know, to our average Gambians, you know, they say, well, they are playing God because, you know, in fact, a police constable once tweet this from the Gambia that, well, the scientists are now playing God. These, you know, numbers will rise in Gambia this time. I said, no, they're talking about epidemiology. It's a proper science. And thanks, I remember that now because I'm going back to remind him about that now. The numbers are high in the Gambia. So can you give them a rundown, you know, how they arrive at these figures?
Okay, good. My brother Banka. Okay, I don't know. I don't think I'm a crazy guy, but well, we'll see. I think being a mathematician already makes you look an outlier, isn't it? So, well, yes. So one thing one should observe is that it's not surprising that now at least they're able to make predictions about Gambia. Before, numbers were too small to pick up in any epidemiological model study. So, right, like you said, this is a mature science. People have differential equations that they study that model relationships between the populations that are infected or affected by a disease. You have people you would consider susceptible, people you would consider infected, people you would consider recovered, and there are model relationships that people have tried and have studied for a while now. So they are able to you can do predictions that are quite accurate. Well, so again, we should just say there is some probability of some error, but still they are a lot more accurate than just somebody sitting down and making an unwild, like an uninformed decision, just guessing. It's not a guess game at all, completely. They build these models and they update them as they get data. So that I was saying the model is getting better and better as now we're having more and more people being tested, and we're having more numbers in the deaths and more numbers in the infected and the recovered categories. Then we can improve our models as we go on. So this is it's a mature field. I think for now, still the Gambia, we still have low numbers, but like Ahmed mentioned earlier, it's really scary. The percentage death is much higher than a lot of countries. So either one, like we are not doing a lot of tests, which we know we are not. But if this is the prevalence rate, taking into consideration the current death, then this is death rate. This is very, very scary. Okay.
Thank you very much, Baboucarr. Yeah, thank you very much for that brief explanation. Banka, we lost our main chief presenter, so that wrong-footed all of us. So in this kind of situation, we have to be creative quickly. Since it's about education, we want to center this around education. We've seen across the world what took off is online education, online teaching, and in fact, this is going to be the main part of a feature of how education is delivered. But in our setting, like if you go to Gunjur Berending, they don't even have electricity. If they have electricity, data is very expensive, above the reach of a common man. How do you think in the long run this is going to have impact, between the haves and the have-nots, or those in the, affluence area, in the combos, and those in the provinces? Because now they are writing their exams and they are writing the same exams. And part of their syllabus was covered through this online education, through radios and televisions. But you go certain communities, they don't even have a radio. So in the long run, how do you think this is going to impact on the education in the Gambia?
It could have a devastating impact, potentially. Now, obviously, we don't know much yet because this just happened and this is an ever-changing situation. And so it's very hard to kind of gauge what the long-term ramifications will be. But for now, as far as we can see, I think the danger obviously is becoming a lot more and more obvious. As you said, it is going to create a huge gap between those who are well-to-do, who can afford online classes, who can afford alternative education, if you will, who can afford other means of educating their kids. Like, let's say even I would say enrolling them in online classes elsewhere outside the country. Because they have access and they have the money to do so. But not many people in the Gambia are in that category, as you rightly said. So what essentially we're going to end up with is we're going to have a situation where a poor child in Brufut or in Tujereng or in Tanje or in Gunjur obviously is not going to have any access to education at all during this period. And that's where government should really hunker down and get even more creative. You see, it's only through very, very difficult situations. And I mean, this is history is testament to this. The best technologies, the best of everything in the world, actually came out of a major tragedy. There was I would say, a major desire for a change, a major desire for something else, a major desire for something to improve lives. That's how major things happen all around the world. So you don't go run and hide in times of crisis like this. Instead, you go to work and really start to crank up your engine, your creativity engine, and start innovating. Because if you don't do that, I mean, the problem with time is that it moves at the speed of light, and it doesn't wait for nobody. And what the time you've lost, you don't gain back. That's it. That time is gone. There is no way of saying yesterday we're going to rewind things back to yesterday. No, yesterday you've lost yesterday, and that date yesterday will never come back again. So what essentially that means is we need to make sure that we hunker down, and then government needs to call in as many people as possible, even people who are outside of the regular conventional, I would say, education system, because I've seen they have tried something like this before. But what to me happened was they just brought in all these guys from different fields, if you will, and then everybody was so focused on this online thing that all they were looking at was a single prong affair, which is, oh, let's just look at how we can make online, do these classes online. Well, they tried that, but again, you might be able to deploy the online thingy, and in other words, have the technology to deploy it. But who are the people who are going to have access to that technology? I think that component is what they did not really think through. So what that means is, if you are dealing with a country like this, where most people don't have access to technology, most people don't have access to this, as they call it in the Gambia, data, the data bytes that they buy. Most people don't have access to the television. Most people don't have access to computers, laptops. I can go on and on, or smartphones, if you will. If they do too, they cannot afford the money, I mean, that's needed to run it. So again, you have these very serious impediments in the way. So what do you do with that situation like this is you start to think outside the box. Can we do this outside of those the traditional thinking, which is, oh, let's go online? Can we do this outside of the online system? What do we do if we can do that, yet maintaining the safety and protection that we need for our children? I think that thinking right there, they could come up with something. I believe that when people put their brains to work and brainstorm and then start thinking through these things, you'll be amazed if they bring in all the different stakeholders, different individuals, people, I mean, our mothers, our dads, who didn't even go to school, that is. I'm saying you have to bring everybody, bring the students that are in these neighborhoods, bring folks, and then sit all of them around the table and then brainstorm around these issues. Tell them, okay, if I want to deliver education to you today or to your child today, and I cannot put all of them in one big classroom, and we have technology, but you don't have a laptop, and we cannot afford a laptop for every child in the country. What do we do? How do we do it? This is how and you'll be amazed at what my mom might say, what your uncle who didn't even go to school might say, what that young 12-year-old kid who is in high school might come up with, what that lady from Tankular might tell you. I mean, this is how you think outside the box. Whatever you come up with out of that process might be very unconventional. And I mean, when I say unconventional, meaning people might look at it and say, but what the heck? But if it is what delivers the education to the people that need it, then I don't care how if you have to deliver education on wheelbarrows, if that's what is going to get it to people, well, put it on wheelbarrows and deliver it. Because your goal at the end of the day is met. That is delivering education. How you do it, I really don't care. You just want to deliver it to the people and so that they can consume it. Unfortunately, they thought of the platforms to deploy, but they didn't think of the customer that is going to be receiving it. And that customer service end is where I think they fail miserably at it. And that's why it didn't go, because they deployed this thing and realized, oops, well, 90% of our children don't even have access to these platforms anyway. So who are we serving here? Because they didn't think of that. When you think of these things, you have to really think of it comprehensively. And in unconventional times, these require unconventional methods. Because you have to come into something that really just get the job done. That should be your focus. But this idea that, okay, online, that's all over, and everybody says online, online. And because Gambia, we have a herd mentality. If 10, 5, 10, 15 people say something, Banka Manneh comes, Banka also wants to do that. Dr. Conteh comes, he wants to do that. Baboucarr comes, boom. Manjang comes, boom. I mean, you can't even say, no, 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 ho, 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 ho. Let's put a break on this. What if we really have a system where kids will still go to school, but instead of sitting in a classroom, we put them in the middle of a soccer field, and have masks on everybody, and they have, I mean, something, I don't know. I'm just thinking outside the box. You need to start thinking loud on these things to really see how you deliver education to these kids. But because what you have right now, Ahmed, like you rightly put it, those who could afford it are the ones who are going to get it. And that's a very, very unfair system. That's rigged. You can't have a situation where this 80% of the kids don't have access to these learning tools, and only 20%, or if it is that much, by the way, have access to these learning tools. And in the end, they'll all be going and sitting exactly, literally the same exam papers. I mean, it's not like they'll say, okay, you guys were going to class this time, you had access to this, da, da, da. You literally are going to go into the exam hall, and they'll give you the same paper that they gave to Ahmed Manjang's daughter and son, who literally had all the access to online classes. They had all the facilities. They had all the, you can go on. And yet this is supposed to be a government-run system. And it's going to be a government run scheme where they will all be evaluated based on the same material, based on the same process, based on the same playing field that is not leveled at all in essence. And that's not fair to our children, because this is not their doing. It's not their fault. Now, if a child doesn't study, you and I can say, well, your child didn't study, so that's your fault. That's their problem. But if a child is not getting the high grades or the high marks, and just because he or she did not have any access to the materials, to the education that he or she needed to take the exams, then really something has to be done about that. That has to change. So for me, that's what I have a problem with, and I see the potential for that, and you have alluded to it, and that is we already have a very unfair system, and that unfair system, if exams were going to wait, I can understand and say, okay, maybe we can wait until things get back to normal, which obviously is not an option. It doesn't seem, because that's only going to delay the kids. But what I'm saying is, in the end, they will all be sitting to the same exam papers, dealing with the same questions, but yet this one didn't have access to education, and the other one did. And with that, the one who did is going to pass that exam probably with flying colors. And when the scholarships come, guess what happens? Then we say, okay, we are doing it by the merits. You give it to that child. Other facilities come, access to whatever. You say, well, we are going to do it by the merits. You do it, you give it to that child. And in the meantime, this other child here, the only reason why he or she doesn't have access to those things is because his mother and father could not afford the internet cost that was needed for that online class, or that whatever process you had in. I think that really is very, very wrong. And for me, that's what I'm very, very troubled by, because I don't want to have an education system where somebody's access to education or their ability to pass the exam with flying colors or not has been hampered strictly by our own doing, and not the person's fault. That's potentially where we are heading with this, guys. Really.
Thank you very much, Banka. It's rather unfortunate situation. People have been disadvantaged. And Baboucarr, I'm not sure if we are badmates. I try to remember you, but I think okay. I'm not sure if you are badmates or what, because Dave told me you
Yes,
also. We are badmates, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Come on, school. With Baboucarr and others, yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah. Dr. Conteh, you are an educationist, and Banka just expand these discussions. The online education system, which we might have to actually continue next academic year again, because this virus, September is already here and is showing no sign of slowing down. What is your take on this? The long-term implications on the children from the poor background,
Okay.
or the rural children?
Okay. Before I start talking, Banka, I would like Mr. Manneh, I want you to check your inbox. I sent you the link to the University of Washington's projection, and you'll be surprised that Guinea-Conakry will only have 129 deaths of COVID. And amazingly, Cote d'Ivoire only will have 197, as opposed to Gambia's 1,909. And
You are kidding me.
look,
Yeah,
I'm serious.
yeah. Before
When you go in there, just select Guinea.
Wow.
You'll
I will
have
do that right now.
129. Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire. Cote d'Ivoire is on the Cote d'Ivoire. It's only 197. But I have always been saying something like, when we were going to primary school, they were introducing a lot of course subjects for us to take. I say under Sadada's government, no one saw it fit for us to learn local languages. So when we were in primaries 1 to 6, what was the essence for me to learn other subjects when I could only concentrate on English and math? I think we do have opportunity now. What I'm proposing that the government of the Gambia should do in order to increase the pass rates of students, we need to concentrate on English and math from grades 1 to grade 9. And then those students who are going to go to the 10th, 11, and 12, they can concentrate on other subjects area. So what I'm sitting down here thinking again is that, in the Gambia, they post you to different schools. So you may come from Gunjur, but you may be posted somewhere in Basse, or somewhere in Sami, or even Salem. So while you come back to your home, the Village Development Committee, VDC, I think the government should try to contract with those people to say that kids who are in grades 1 to grade 9, they should only be taught English and math, and maybe also other languages. Because I think if we learn other languages, our prejudices actually decrease. So I don't understand how someone like me from Faraba Banta, where when you go inside the village, you cannot even have internet, you cannot even use your telephone. Sometimes our people have to go all the way upland, maybe near Faraba Manokang, to get access to the internet. So how on earth will they be able to do that? But again, what I am proposing, in order to increase the quality of education, the pass rate of these kids from grades 1 to grade 9, is that the government of the Gambia should contract with the Village Development Committee. And if they do not have qualified people, at least they may have some people who actually were teachers but posted in other areas. So let them identify how many students in each village who are in grades 1 all the way up to grade 9, and try to get these kids to learn. But I don't think that using the television or using the radio to get people to come and see those things it's hard, because even if you come from the urban area, you know how erratic electricity is in the Gambia. It cuts off instantaneously. So how would the kids learn? And particularly when you know that they have to sit down and listen. So what I'm proposing, is that from grades 1 to grade 9, the government of the Gambia should only concentrate on English and math. And even if you are in the 9th grade, give that examination to those kids from English and math. If they pass, they can go to grade 10. But again, how about those who are in grades 10, 11, and 12? What are they going to do? You need to decrease the number of subjects that these kids are taking. In the Gambia is the only area, the country that I know of, that's going to get a child to study 9 subjects to take an examination. And even when I looked at the lecture time, it's about 35 minutes. For me here in the United States, I don't like to teach a class for only 50 minutes. I normally like to teach a class of 75 minutes. But in the Gambia, sometimes you're going to only have 35 minutes for lecture. What sense does that make? So again, what I'm proposing is that the government of the Gambia should sit down to say that we need to decrease the number of subjects that our kids have to take, particularly those who are in grades 10, 11, and 12, so that at least they can concentrate on core areas. If you want to take math, if you want to take any science subject, you can. Of course, they should, but requiring our kids to take 9 courses, I think that is out of range for comprehension, particularly. My prediction here is this. The WIAC examination. Remember, the kids took the WIAC examination in August, and it used to be taken, well, sometimes in June. So basically, if you look at it, even if you pass the WIAC examination, you will not have admission to the University of the Gambia. And I'm trying to even get a gentleman to get to that university, and they just told me that they shortlisted him. So which means that there is high demand of kids wanting to go to University of the Gambia. So again, and I also do believe that for us who are in the local here in the US, we also need to find a way to engage, and we should take politics out of it. Because if we put politics in the issue of COVID, we are destroying the purpose of what we stand for. So again, Gambians, you know where you come from, your community, you know that you may have some family members, some kids who are in grade 1, grade 2, whatever grade, to 9th grade. We cannot sit down and allow these kids to sit by the wayside, because if they fail, we fail. And again, I want to appeal to the government of the Gambia that these sports activities should be suspended totally, because this is the time that the kids will learn English and math, particularly those who are in grades 1 to 9. Gambia is far behind, in those core areas. Here we have a Gambian who's a mathematician, and a country of 2.5 million, and he's in a country over 20 million people. And then sometimes when I meet some folks from Nigeria, when they say your country is small, I say, yeah, but how many of us are teaching here? Per capita wise, Gambia has more than you do. Because if we have 2 Nigerians teaching in this institution, and you are 230 million people, and I am the lone Gambian who is from a country of 2.5 million, then I can tell you per capita wise, we have more Gambians teaching here than you. Because if you take your 2 people and you try to average it by your 230 million, you tell me what the number is. So again, I think we need to do that. And Banka, by the way, you saw the numbers. And for one thing, I don't understand, yeah, they reach out to Senegal, but I think we should also reach out to Guinea to see how in the world is Guinea able to decrease this rate, particularly during the demonstrations with Alpha Conteh, who want to have a third, term. And we also see that Ivory Coast only has 197. So that we have disparity in the death rates, and we cannot sit idle. And again, I want to appeal to educationalists. We have a fiduciary responsibility in uplifting our kids. So if your school is closed and you are in your village, you should be out there organizing. I know that social distancing, it can be something. But again, in the Gambia, we know that you can do it if you have social distancing. Let's teach our kids English and math. We cannot afford to have our kids sitting down here for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months. We don't even know when the schools in the Gambia will open. And now they're talking about online. How can you have online when you don't even have the broadband? Because if you're going to have more people accessing, oh, by the way, today, you all know what happened? As universities throughout the United States open, and everyone wants to use Zoom, guess what happened? Folks, we had difficulty accessing Zoom. So if we have a small ban for internet usage in the Gambia, how on earth? Because when I went to Gambia, it took me almost 25 times to even access information. And you all also know that in the Gambia, sometimes it is very, very, very difficult to even upload a PDF file. So again, this is something that sports needs to be left alone in the Gambia. We need to say that today we want to concentrate on English and math education, so that we can have more people like Dr. Ba who are good in mathematics. And if we are able to do that, guess what? We may be able to get companies that can relocate to our country because we cannot just sit down and tend to accept aid from Western countries. So again, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, we have to coexist. We have to do this together, because if one person dies, anytime you see on Facebook, it is very depressing. And these are the only announcements made. How about folks who haven't announced the passing of their family members? So again, I'm glad that I'm part of this discussion. I'm glad that all of you are part of this discussion. Yeah, I went to St. Augustine, and yes, we are crazy. The Reverend Fathers, you all are from the other school. Banka, they are from the other school, that is Gambia High. When you talk about somebody
you use the right term for them. We call them the other school. The school next door.
But again, they are wonderful people, though. They are wonderful. But when it comes to ethics,
they occupy a good, nice second place. They do occupy a good, nice second place. Yeah, they are comfortable there.
When it comes to craziness, you find a Senegal graduate. We are saying that this is the time for us to leave the partisan politics alone and think Gambia first. Let me start there.
Prof, I don't forget that point. That will be the last take. We still have 27 minutes. The point you mentioned is very important. That will be the last segment. Baboucarr still have a slot in this one. But before that, I want to bring one of the viewers, Africano Cisse. Very good topic. Gunjur Madina Salam doesn't have electricity too. We have to kick this government out. Otherwise, we will never go on nowhere. Yeah. I think most people, viewers, will agree with you that this government of bankers, the diaspora government, we need to do something about it. But we will go ahead.
Baro is our baro.
Baro is our baro. Come time, come rain. Okay, yes, Mr. Ba, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, yes.
You hear this point, but they are nothing new. Our time, it was transport and finding a place around the Combo where you can easily access, to your classes. I used to live in Suguta. We always, arrive before the Brufut guys. They are always the last to come. And Banka, maybe he knows what I'm going to say, because normally they appear very dusty. They join, I think, the Gunjur boss called Kuruntu. It's a terrible experience. So again, you think we should pass that. We struggle with transport, get into our classes. Now our kids, around the same area, having to grapple with access to classes, because they don't have regular electricity, they don't have access to the internet, or if internet is available, it's beyond their reach. What's your take on that? The long-term effect on our...
This is a big problem. COVID has put us on a very serious problem, and people are thinking about this. I don't think there's a silver bullet. I think the same outcry we had in South Africa here, even though the internet situation is better here. So when universities were asked to do things online, there are still communities who struggle to have internet. So the same problem we have in Gambia, I think we have to rethink the education. Our panelist, Dr. Conteh, has raised a lot of also pertinent issues. The issue of curriculum. How do we revise the curriculum in the Gambia? We all know the issue of STEM education, science, technology, and mathematics is still a problem in our schools. So the public schools in Gambia were already doing really bad, and COVID-19 has made things super worse. And even just the public schools, it's a discrimination in itself. So you're talking about access to internet, but even public government schools in Gambia, it's only a few people who can, like most people who can't afford to pay for private schools, whose children go to public schools in Gambia now. I don't know if you know this. So already there is a divide there, and private schools students do much better than public school students, and so COVID-19 is just compounding this. And I think people should maybe rethink a bit about how to reopen schools, Is it going to be more cost effective if we reopen schools and maybe create shifts where part of the students come in a particular day and they're allowed to do social distancing in the class like they're doing currently, with the grade 12s and the grade 9s, and then we government provide fumigation for schools every weekend or every 2 weeks or something like this, because education is super important. It's just like, okay, you're opening the markets and other places for people to go and make a living, but education also is important. Otherwise, we may be sacrificing the future of this country. So we should really rethink a bit, how do we make a reopening of schools as soon as possible and provide safeguards so that we curb spread in schools, but still people are allowed to go to school, teachers are allowed to go back and teach. Because online for Gambia right now, there's no way. I don't see how it's going to work. Like you mentioned, the TV thing. Not everybody has a TV at home, but if there are things limited that you can teach on a TV, right, than standing in front of a class. So definitely, I think something has to be done. Something really has to be done. The issue of reforming the curriculum, this is a big debate, and there's a lot of bureaucratic like bottlenecks in the country if you want to change anything. But everybody knows most of this stuff there has to be changed if we want to change this country. Because the education, again, everybody knows about is to say, look, this education was modeled for the colonial system, produce people who memorize stuff and go out and become servants in the colonial, or like low-level workers in the colonial system. It's not training for purpose, for people who are going to think out of the box and try to come up with solutions for our problems as a country. So definitely there's call for reform, but again, there's a lot of hurdles over there that needs to be to make changes in our country. Yeah, I'll stop there if anybody has something else.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. For Dr. Ba, for that brilliant analysis, and also the importance of reviewing our curriculum, like as you alluded to, is biased towards who are academically inclined, but the technicians and also those who might go on to do the IT, and also they are disrupted very early in their life. They are in fact almost excluded. That is something that needs an urgent review. But we are so distracted with everything. I don't think anybody is thinking in that line. So before we come to unity in purpose against COVID-19, I just want to go back again. Dr. mentioned why Gambia, a population of just 2 million, is expected to register that high number of death. The possible explanation, number one, we know our government were unprepared. Probably they thought this virus would never arrive, and they decided to share the money between themselves. Now the virus is here, we have nothing in place. The number one thing is I want to highlight is in Ndemban Clinic. Ndemban Clinic was identified to be COVID treatment center exclusively, and they were supported by, I think, United Nations to refurbish that place. But then tough global step in and say, okay, we will help this percentage. Then the government can do the rest. And Tough went in and do his bit. But just what happened? The government never turned up. So the place is still dilapidated and there is no facilities there. Now we have the numbers. They have to go back and close Serakunda Hospital. This is serving a population of very close to 1 million, like 600,000 plus. You close it and use it exclusively as COVID-19 treatment center. And we all know COVID have no definite treatment regimen. But we have people, we are in the middle of malaria season. We have people with hypertension. We have people with kidney failures who need dialysis on daily or weekly basis. Where are they going to go now? So even not with COVID, but death as a result of other illnesses is also going to increase. But what really shocked me, what I find shocking about Gambians, we are reactive and our attention span is also very, very short. I don't hear anybody ranting. I wrote an article about this 3-4 days ago. It's on Gunjun News Online. Why are we so indifferent? Because in any other place in the world, you close a health facility which is serving like a three-quarter of almost more than half of the population of the country, and nobody blink. That no doubt we have a president like President Barrow, because we don't just care. Then you come to the WHO guidelines. For us to get a handle of COVID-19, we need to follow WHO guidelines, and that is test. They say test, trace, and isolate and treat. But right now, Gambia, you look at their report. They wrote it, I think it's a font, the lowest font, might be font 8. They say no trace. That means if they say we have 140 cases, they never bother to go and trace their contacts. So anybody, those people come in contact 2 weeks, they are potential positive cases. So you expect them, some of them, right now the positivity rate is about 34%. So you expect those people, 34% of their contacts to be positive. Then you come to, I mentioned isolate. You need to not only trace them, once you trace them, you need to isolate all of them. Then you test them. Those who are positive, you put them in the treatment centers. Those who are negative, you still have to isolate them for 2 weeks while you are testing them. If they are positive, you add them to the treatment center. If they are negative, they stay in the negative treatment center for 2 weeks. Then if they are negative completely, you let them back in the society. That is not happening again. And treat. Our treatment, our recovery rate is like 18%. That's probably the worst ever anywhere in the world. So you can see why our numbers will exceed that of Nigeria, Ivory Coast, which are far, far, far greater population than us. So these are the reasons. But from there now we come to the general attitudes of the government that I just mentioned, the failings of the government and the general public. But then the politician, these people supposed to be an alternative. They're supposed to provide alternative leadership to the government. But where is that? That cannot come without unity. I was so concerned about this yesterday. I called a particular politician. I told him, but why are you guys not meeting? He told me, okay, efforts have been made, but it seems the senior politicians are not interested. So that's beg the question. Doctor mentioned one point yesterday, UDP were celebrating their 24 years celebration. To his opinion, probably those should be called off now. And I think it will send a clear message. If UDP should come in a pressure, 2 people, the leader and 2 other people, and said, well, we thank you, for all the well wishes. There is a birthday, but because of the situation we are in, we're not going to celebrate this year's celebration as we used to, because Gambians are dying in their numbers. Gambia are sick. They are in quarantine. They are all that. I think that will send a very, very powerful message, but that didn't happen. So it seems even the pandemic cannot unite us. Mr. Ba, what do you think will unite Gambians again? Do you think we'll ever unite? If a pandemic is not uniting us, how do you think we can unite this nation? Because we need it if we are going to progress.
Yes, I echo Dr. Conteh's call earlier also that we should unite. When we have something like a pandemic like this, definitely it's unity that is needed. I was surprised here in South Africa when these things happened. They were like, everybody knows the fighting that goes on between parties here, but all party leaders here met and agreed to work together, and they've been working together since then. There have not been contradictory messages from different party leaders in this country. So definitely we have to unite. This is a pandemic. This is a problem of the country. It knows no ethnicity. It knows no age. It knows no party color. Okay. It's definitely we expect people and leaders of parties to think about this a bit. Let's put our egos aside and try to face the pandemic that our country is facing. But it's not clear if there's it's the leadership that should take a lead. I don't think, like you said, you spoke to somebody, probably it's a junior guy in the party, and they are not able to make any changes. It's the leaders that should have the the will to do so, I think.
Yeah, thank you very much. And what
But
do you expect?
I also I wanted to add also like the circular thing. I was shocked when I heard that. It might like people you create more deaths actually because people don't have access to medical facilities now. So this is really serious. When I heard that, I was like, oh my God, this is serious. I don't think that's the right decision.
Okay, thank you. Mariam Manneh, the children of, just reading a comment from one of our viewers, Mariam Manneh, who said, the children of the diaspora help you make a plan. Gambia can unite with us and agree to work together. It is a problem for all Africans. Thank you very much, Mariam. And I mentioned this in a different platform yesterday. In fact, the only leadership right now that is keeping Gambia at least afloat is from the diaspora. 2 weeks ago, they called the president to come. They give an ultimatum to come and address the nation. And he came. He don't look well. He struggled, but he came and he admitted, okay, you called me to come and address, and I did. But this should have been coming from the opposition, that they should put the executive on check. How would they do it? Either they join him, they join the government to help, or they create an alternative, leadership where they can help, fight this virus. But the way things are is in a terrible state. Like this hospital closure, this should be a big thing with the oppositions. If they are interested in winning next election, these are the kind of issues you should have on. Make sure that the public is aware how indifferent these people are, because they have the money, they misspend it. Now the infrastructure that is already established, they are taking that now, from the public, just to cover for their corruption, because they take the money and spend it. They don't spend it on the things they should. Now what is available to the general public, they are taking that, to cover for this is rather unfortunate and unfair. So, Doctor, on a final note, you bring this is something worth discussing. What's your final take on this?
Yeah, I'm muted.
You are muted.
Thank you. Again, thank you for allowing me to speak again. Today, when I wrote on Facebook to say that I'm going to paraphrase myself, that why would UDP be commemorating their 24th anniversary when Gambians are dying? And I believe that a gentleman mentioned you and I that our speaker was hate to UDP. So I don't get it. So anytime you talk about a political party, they talk about UDP. When you talk about the presidency, they talk about Ousainou Darboe. And I got reliable information that Ousainou Darboe was approached, that we all should come together to meet. He said, well, he has to get back to his people. So what I'm saying here is that the other opposition parties, let's leave Ousainou Darboe alone, because he cannot delay this urgent need in our country. And I think that all those other political parties should come together, leave them alone, because all they care about is trying to maximize this gentleman. I will say it because, I think I'm sick and tired of hearing these people talking about trying to mortgage the future of our country when we are dying. So if Ousainou Darboe and UDP, they don't want to go and join the other opposition parties to shake hands with, to say, let us get this in together. If he doesn't want to do it, let them go and do it, because we cannot sit down for them to delay what is going on in our country. Because today, when you die, when the Gambians that are dying, we're not saying you are UDP, we're not saying you are NPP, we're not saying you are NRP or GDC, we're not saying you are DOI. We are saying Gambians are dying. And when God calls you, he doesn't know any political, he doesn't know any political line. So I'm appealing to opposition leaders to say that enough of this delay by Ousainou Darboe, let's move on. Because Ousainou Darboe is not Gambia 100%. He doesn't have 100% share in the Gambia. If he wants to delay us, we are going to move to Gambia. And no one should say that just because I fell out with Barrow, so now I am rejoicing because Gambians are dying. No, I find this to be totally disingenuous on the part of the UDP leader, He thinks that he can sit down and mortgage the future of the Gambia. And we have to be brave enough to talk, because when our people die, they are dying. When our family members are crying, they are crying. To have a political party who's going to go and commemorate their 24th anniversary, to me, is totally un-Gambian. If we all go back when we all were children in your local village, even in Banjul, when people die, sometimes it will take almost 7 weeks before you can do anything in that town. But now, the first time I wrote something about him, when he celebrated his birthday with his daughter, I said, this is ridiculous. Here we have a political, and then when he came live to address the people about COVID, he only addressed his own political supporters. So which means that if Ousainou Darboe becomes president of the Gambia, he only gonna think about yellow, and God forbid that happens. I think we should be man enough, we should be woman enough to say that these type of political vindictiveness by Ousainou Darboe needs to stop. He is not the only politician in the country. I have met several politicians from Sheriff Mustafa Adiba, Hassan Musa Kamara, and they don't focus in such a direction to have a service idea to mortgage the future of the country. People are dying. Now, if you sit down and think, by December 31, 2020, how much of our GDP will reduce? And if you sit down also and you think realistically, when it comes to tax revenue of the country, how much will Gambia lose in revenue? If we sit down again to quantify whether we're going to have a budget, we wouldn't have a budget surplus, we're going to have a budget deficit. And if we go again in May, when the results of the West African examination comes out, or the 10th grade, 9th grade examination, we're going to have a dismal failure rate. I think even those who are in the UDP, and now they are calling that nobody should challenge Ousainou Darboe. I want folks in UDP to stand up to say that a person who has been leading a political party for 24 years, his time has come. He needs to step down to find someone who's out there who can energize Gambian people, who can try to come together for to coexist. And finally, no, give me 1 second. I also want to address my APRC supporters, my friends and my friends over in the APRC. Yaya Jammeh is gone. Find a new leader. Find a dynamic leader so that Gambians can come together and solve our country's problems. This is too much for us to bear, because every single time you look at that, no one should wait on Ousainou Darboe to tell us what we should do about the future of this COVID. This COVID rate of death is so troubling. A country of 2.5 million, they have estimated we're going to lose almost 2,000. And when you go to Guinea-Conakry, that is almost 16 times or 8 times the population of the Gambia, they're only going to lose 129. You see the disparity? I am fired up. And I am not going to be captive to any surrogate, any hooligan who believes that their narrative is a narrative that Gambians should go through. No. This is the time for UDP folks to stand up and say, Ousainou Darboe, we want you to step down, find a dynamic leader that can come on so that we can all coexist, in my case.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I know you've heard, and I'm as well. The numbers you just quoted are up to December. What happened between December and January and February, nobody knows. Only Allah knows. The way things are going is not. I'll let you, Mr. Dr. Abba, to your final take on this before I round this program up. But before then, we want to say thank you very much. This program, the #1 purpose is for the people of Combo, especially the intellectuals around, to know each other, because once you know each other, you can network. Maybe you are doing something, then I'm doing something. This is a chance to collaborate. And also, we have a challenge, as you say at the beginning in your introduction. Yuna and Bruford, you are a village down there, Hamlet, you said, but now it's bigger and there is no gap. But that comes at a cost. Say if you want to invest in farming now, where do you go? Maybe your farmlands are out gold now. And how do they change hands? Have they changed hands fairly? Then we have these discriminatory land laws which affect the people of Combo Road. So if for we to be able to do anything about that, I cannot do anything about it with my small group in Gunjur, and you cannot do anything on your own. We need to come together as a Combo, as one group, and speak one language and start and challenge the status quo. These are laws. They say, well, it's a land act and all that. But do you know, apartheid one time was a law. Slave trade was legal at some point. So a bad law, that a law doesn't mean that is equitable. It cannot be challenged. We need to challenge those bad laws. That's why I appreciate your presence here, and your contributions are wonderful. So what's your final take on this discussion? Then I will close it. But before then, I want to let in your father, Malik Manneh, Kabunka. He was saying hello to you all of you. He said, thank you very much, Mr. Ba, for the brilliant contribution, and Mr. Conteh. Thank you. Yeah, you are also muted.
All right, thank you, Manjang. Well, yeah, I am. DF invited me, DF Manneh, and we have been talking a lot about this land issues in Cambo, and we are vindicated. You had Hussein Odabo came out and talk about it. And a lot of party leaders know that there's some injustice going on there. Definitely. So we just want justice to be done. It's not about making Congo like a section, trying to sectionalism. No, we want justice. These lands are not being fairly taken, and therefore we have to find a way to put pressure for this to be rectified. So I applaud what you guys are doing. I am not like to say not a very free man. Most of the time I'm very busy. I'm not following all your programs, but once in a while I listen to your videos, or sometimes on YouTube, or also once in a while I also listen to the live program. But I think you're doing a wonderful job, and you guys should keep it up. Yeah, I thought we would have had a lot more time to talk more about education. Like Dr. Conteh pointed out, the idea of curriculum, this is something very close to my heart. How do we bring reforms in education in our country? When I got invited this week, I think a few minutes later, somebody sent a video where the king of Qatar has his own AI bodyguard, right? You see, if the guy is a machine, he has the medication of the king, he has the guns to protect the king, he has everything moving around with the king. These small countries are doing super well in AI. Where are we? We don't even know where is Gambia in all this. What is our vision? Do we want to be like that, or do we just want to be consumers of technology? These are things that I'm really, really concerned about. But right now it's COVID. We should try to find a way of fixing COVID, but which also involves technology. Actually, I don't know how much time I have, but I wanted also to share with you that some new ideas that we have developed from the mass side to be applied to testing. How can you improve testing in a massive scale? There's methods called group testings that we have developed, schemes that people have used, and they're being used very effectively in Rwanda currently, and they can test very large populations using these kinds of techniques. I've reached out to MRC and the ministry. I'm still waiting to hear from them, but we can implement this and make this testing much larger than what is being done currently, actually. But anyway, thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure. We are not like the Dave Manneh would say, like talking is not something we're very good at, but it was a pleasure being here and saying something. Yeah.
Well, if you want to continue, I can give you another couple of minutes, because that sounds very interesting. That's my area. This group testing, the viewers want to know what's that all about. You can just elaborate quickly.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there's a group so some of my colleagues in Rwanda. So AIMS, I don't know if you guys know about AIMS. AIMS is African Institute for Mathematical Sciences. So we have centers around Africa, centers of excellence in mathematics. One is in South Africa, one is in Rwanda, another is in Cameroon, and we have one in Ghana and one in Senegal. So we have a one-year master's program where we enroll students from all over Africa having mathematics, computer science, statistics, or engineering background to do a one-year master's program. And it's mostly about how do we apply maths to try to solve contemporary problems in Africa. So there's a research group of ours that have developed, so group testing is not new. So what is group testing? The idea is that if you have, let's fix a number, if you have, let's say, 100 people you want to test, you need 100 test kits to test these people, right? And these test kits are not free, they're very expensive. But group testing says, why not you group this into groups and test, do pools. So let's say I'm going to take 50 people and put them in one pool and use one test kit to test. If this test is 0, then I am sure that all those 50 people are not going to be tested anymore. I have saved 49 test kits, right? And then I'm going to test the other 50, okay? If there is a positive sign, then I could split the further groups and so on and so on. But eventually, you can save a significant amount if the the infection rate is not too high in the population. Okay, if it's at least less than 50%, you will definitely save a lot if you do use this kind of techniques. These were developed during the Second World War by some guy called Duffman. They were trying to test American soldiers that have syphilis, and it was the prevalence was low. So the best idea is, instead of testing every individual, you can do this very fast by doing this group testing techniques. So they have developed a new method where it shows us optimal way of doing these testings that you can save a lot more test kits. And we have also, my background being signal processing and complex sensing, is very closely related to the mathematics of group testing. And we have investigated this, and we've come up with new strategies with rigorous guarantees to show that if you do this, there's a high chance of even correcting errors. So there could be some measurement errors when you're taking these samples. So we have these techniques that we can say, if the errors are not much, you can still correct these errors and be able to detect maybe one infected person from a pool of 100, for instance, or a pool of 64 people, for instance, without any error. So these are ideas that I really think could be explored. But also, if you have got a long time, we should talk about to inspire younger generation to know that, look, mathematics is not just something very abstract. It could be applied to real life problems and solve problems, right? There's a small picture I wanted to talk about this. You're muted, Ahmed. You're saying something.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thanks for reaching out to the people of MRC and the Gambia. I'm not sure if you get any response from the Gambia government, because they don't respond to emails. If you are lucky, you do. Yeah, the group testing you alluded to, that's what we use. I came here 2012. I find that's how they screen the blood donors. Because the numbers are very high, but this test is very, very expensive. So basically, what they do, they will pool six together. Then when you test, sometimes the entire run, most of the time, the entire run is negative. Then you are fine. Then sometimes one of the pools is positive. Then you rerun that pool of 6 again individually. Then it will tell you which one or which two make the entire pool positive. So it make it very, very cheap. Rather than test them all individually, it's very expensive. It's not sustainable. Yeah, thank you very much, Malik. Let's talk after this program. So to conclude, I want to. I know why Doctor is a bit agitated, because definitely this Gambia government failed us spectacularly, and we have seen corruption, in a massive scale. And because of their negligence and corruption, we are seeing Gambians dying in their numbers. But then you look at the opposition, you say, where is the alternative of leadership? This is a time opposition to make their name by coming together. And if the government didn't come to them, they should engage the government. We can come together. Let's deal with it, because this particular illness, this pandemic, doesn't know any party colors. It doesn't know if you are president or a vice president. It doesn't know if you are a common man, peanut farmer from Gunju. So this is still a very good opportunity to come together and work against, because that's the only way out. But the way things are is like some groups are in fact happy, and this is something they can use as a political tool, when the election or whatever comes. So the executive failed. The parliament are currently on holiday. I don't know how can they have a holiday right now when the nation need them the most. And the opposition also are in disarray, they're on holiday. So it's left us, the public. Let's take our personal responsibilities. One thing, if we can all do, like if we are going to the outside, we all wear face mask. 85% of the population, if we wear face mask, in 2 weeks, this virus will disappear in our source. That's a proper scientific finding. The face mask in itself is not protective to the wearer. But what it does is, if you are infected, you cannot infect somebody else. So if I wear it, Dr. Ba wear it, Mr. Conteh wear it, we can talk. His aerosol coming from his mouth and nose will stop here, will stop at him. So there is no chance he will infect me. I have zero chance infecting him. So after 2 weeks, the cycle of infection will be broken. So there will be no COVID. So let us always stay at home if we as much as we can. But if we need to go out, please let us wear these face masks. And if we are in a crowded place, let us try to observe physical distancing strictly if it is possible. And also, hand washing is still as relevant as before, probably one of the most important. You wash your hand regularly with plenty of soap for at least 40 seconds. If you go into your house from outside, don't say, well, I don't take anybody's hand, I don't take, you don't know. Subconsciously, if you are watching, you will see that I touch everywhere in my face while talking, I don't even know. So once you go into your home, go straight into the bathroom, wash your hand thoroughly with soap, and any kind of soap. There is no specific soap for this. As long as the soap lathers, it works. Then if you don't have that, have alcohol-based hand sanitizers. And unfortunately, these are available even in small quantities you can put in your pocket. You go with it anywhere. If you go inside your car, you rub your hand. If you go, come back in again, you apply it and rub your hand. This will protect. And let us try to protect ourselves. And to the youth people, if you think you are invincible to the virus, you are not. Yes, your chances of survival if you have virus is high, but think about your old man who might be in his 80s, 70s, and they have, we know most of the elderly population in the Gambia anyway are having underlying medical conditions, which they rather live with it than go to the health center because they don't see the point. You go there, they give you paracetamol, you lose your 25 consultation fee. So we've seen a lot of death among our elderly population is not a coincidence. And people with underlying condition like diabetes, like hypertension. And one thing also the West don't mention as an underlying condition that can make this virus severe is our diet. Gambia, we have the poorest diet probably across the world. It used to be better, but it's getting worse by the day because around the common, in fact, I can say across the country, these widely available pelagics, which is called chalo or kobo, is no more that easily available because the Chinese came in, they are turning into powder and exporting it for animal feed, leaving the population severely deficient in protein and intake. This is an underlying condition. That's why COVID is going to kill more people in the Gambia because our diet is not up to scratch. So this is a good opportunity for us also to sit and think back, what we eat. Let's try. We are in the rainy season. You have a lot of greeneries. You have a lot of leaves that you can add to your diet. And also, let us stop, being a lazy bums. Let's get up and exercise. Exercise, it makes you stronger. It makes your lungs more active. If you are running, you tend to breathe harder. That means if virus come to your lungs initially before it takes a foothold, you can breathe it out. This is a well-established research finding. So thank you all for your time. Our viewers, please, there's audios. And once again, we apologize. Our chief panelist is not in, but alhamdulillah, we have Dr. Ba, who stand in, really impeccably. Thank you very much, Dr. Ba. We really appreciate your time. Allah Barak.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank you.
Godili